Nepal, a small country between two Asian giants. Nepal is a small country located between two Asian giants, China to the north and India on the other three sides. Its total area is only about 56,956 square miles, much smaller than its two neighboring countries. But what makes Nepal remarkable is that within that not very large space, it contains almost an entire miniature world. From the low, hot plains in the south, Nepal's landscape gradually rises into massive mountain ranges in the north, where Everest, the highest mountain on Earth, stands. Few countries of this size have such dramatic natural contrast. Within one small nation, Nepal has forests, rivers, lakes, valleys, and the highest snow-capped mountain walls in the world. That is what makes it not just another country on the map, but more like a land compressed from some of Asia's most breathtaking landscapes. But Nepal's appeal is not only about geography. It is also a place where many ethnic groups, languages, beliefs, and ancient traditions still remain vividly alive in everyday life. Tucked between the Himalayas and two major powers, Nepal has still shaped a distinct identity of its own, like a world set apart from the familiar rhythm of everywhere else. Kathmandu, the ancient city of deities, temples, and legends. If you think heritage only belongs behind museum glass, Kathmandu will make you think again. This is one of the places with the highest concentration of UNESCO heritage sites in the world. Within the Kathmandu Valley alone, visitors can find as many as 7 World Heritage Site complexes located fairly close to one another. What makes it special is that these places do not exist just to be looked at. They are still part of everyday life. Kathmandu feels like a giant living museum, where temples that are hundreds of years old are still actively used for worship, daily life, and festivals. The most famous are the 3 Durbar squares of Kathmandu, Patan, and Bhaktapur. These were once the centers of power for ancient kingdoms, and they also show the finest beauty of Newari architecture. Then there is Buddhanath, one of the largest spherical stupas in the world, known for the Buddha eyes gazing in all 4 directions. Not far away stands Pashupatinath Temple on the banks of the Bagmati River, where cremation rituals still take place every day, clearly reflecting the Nepalese view of the cycle of life and death. What makes Kathmandu unique is not just the number of heritage sites, but the way Hinduism and Buddhism coexist, blend together, and share sacred space. Here, heritage is not a sleeping past, but a living part of the present. GOKYO Lake, the highest freshwater lake in the world in the Everest region. GOKYO Lakes is the name of a stunning chain of 6 glacial lakes. The lakes sit at elevations ranging from about 15,420 feet to 16,404 feet, making them some of the highest freshwater lakes in the world. They are located in the GOKYO Valley of the Everest region, inside the beautiful Sagarmatha National Park, which is also home to Mount Everest. Beyond their tourism value, GOKYO Lakes are also a sacred place for both Nepalese Hindus and Buddhists. Worshippers revere GOKYO as the dwelling place of Nagdevta, the serpent god. In addition, there is a temple dedicated to Lord Vishnu and Lord Shiva on the eastern side of the lake. During the Janai Purnima festival, thousands of pilgrims cross harsh terrain to come here and bathe in the holy waters of these lakes, believing it will wash away their sins. Trekking to GOKYO Lakes in Nepal is certainly a challenging achievement, but it is absolutely worth the effort for every traveler. The place offers not only the breathtaking beauty of the lakes and the surrounding scenery, but also an entire journey of adventure that will stay with you for a long time. Kumari, the real living goddess in the heart of Kathmandu. In the heart of Kathmandu, there is a place people always pass with special reverence. It is Kumari Garh, the home of Kumari, Nepal's famous living goddess. Nepalese people believe that the goddess Taleju can incarnate in a prepubescent girl. What makes it extraordinary is that Kumari is not a mythical figure, but a real person living in the ordinary world and worshipped as a deity. To become Kumari, a girl must go through a very strict selection process. She is usually chosen from the Newar community and must meet many standards of appearance, purity, and courage. Once officially recognized, she leaves her family to live in Kumari Garh and begins a completely different life. Kumari is not allowed to let her bare feet touch the ground. Every time she appears in public, she is carried or taken in a formal ceremony. People believe that Kumari's gaze can bring good luck, blessings, and drive away evil. But when she reaches puberty, that role comes to an end, and she returns to ordinary life. That is exactly what makes Kumari one of Nepal's most mysterious and extraordinary traditions. Number 5. TIHAR, the festival where all creatures are named before the divine light. TIHAR is the second largest festival of lights in Nepal, with celebrations centered mainly on giving thanks to animals for a good harvest and worshipping the gods to pray for prosperity and peace in life. Karg TIHAR is the first day of the festival and is set aside to worship crows, animals considered messengers of the god of death. Through giving thanks to and feeding crows, people taking part in this day believe they can avoid bad luck and be protected by the crows from evil things. The second day is Kukur TIHAR, dedicated to honoring dogs as the guardians of heaven's gates. On this day, people show gratitude to all dogs by placing a marigold garland around their necks and a small red mark on their foreheads. The morning of the third day is Gai TIHAR, when cows are worshipped as symbols of prosperity. In Hinduism, cows are considered sacred animals representing wealth. In the afternoon, the people of Nepal worship goddess Lakshmi. To thank the goddess for all the blessings of the previous year, oil lamps and candles are lit in homes and temples. The fourth day is called Guru TIHAR and is the day when people choose among 3 different worship customs. Most Hindus in Nepal worship oxen on this day. Followers of Vaishnavism worship Lord Vishnu. For the Newar community, it is a day to honor themselves and purify the soul. The final day of the festival is Bhaitika, a day dedicated to celebrating the bond between siblings. On this day, families gather and perform a special ritual to pray for peace and well-being for older and younger brothers, as well as protection for older and younger sisters. Because of this, TIHAR is not only a unique festival, but also shows how the Nepalese honor the connection between humans, all living creatures, and the divine. THANGKA paintings, intricate artwork preserved as a living heritage. THANGKA is a type of painted or embroidered hanging scroll that depicts stories from the life of the Buddha and other Buddhas, and is displayed in monasteries or in Buddhist worship spaces in homes. THANGKA is used as a teaching tool or as a practice aid for those following the path of the true Dharma. Each type of THANGKA usually carries a different meaning, helping wishes come true, such as peace, health, long life, prosperity, success, or good fortune. THANGKA paintings have connected us across centuries through wisdom and devotion. Every detail in a THANGKA carries the power and energy of the Buddhas and protective deities, helping viewers focus, feel peaceful, and become calm within. THANGKAs depicting deities are considered protective images or blessings that help devotees overcome suffering and illness. Therefore, THANGKA is not only art, it is also a spiritual tool that supports meditation, religious practice, and serves as a vivid living piece of Buddhist cultural history. NAMCHE Bazaar, the last gateway before entering the world of Everest. Located at an elevation of about 11,286 feet in Nepal's Khumbu region, NAMCHE Bazaar is considered the most important town on the route to Everest. This is where most trekking and climbing groups have to stop to rest, acclimatize to the altitude, and prepare for the harsher journey ahead. Built in a crescent shape on the mountainside, NAMCHE is both a trading center and a link between the human world and the high mountains of the Himalayas. Here, there are lodges, restaurants, entertainment areas, mountaineering gear shops, local markets, and even yak caravans carrying goods through every day. From NAMCHE onward, the trees begin to thin out, the air gets colder, the trails get steeper, and the feeling of getting closer to the Himalayas becomes even stronger. This place is also tied to long-standing stories about the Yeti, the giant, shaggy, legendary creature said to appear through the mist on the mountain peaks. People believe the Yeti is a spirit guarding the mountains, preserving the balance of nature, and reminding humans of how small they are in the vast wilderness. Because of this, NAMCHE Bazaar is not just a stopping point. It is the place where people take their last breath of familiar life before going deeper into the world of Everest, ice and snow, and legends living high in the sky. Nepal's calendar, the country living more than half a century ahead of the world. While most of the world is living in the year 2026, Nepal is in the year 2082 and is about to enter 2083. The reason is that this country uses its own calendar system called Bikram Sambat, a calendar that has been tied to Nepal's social, administrative, and cultural life for hundreds of years. In government documents, schools, courts, and even on television, Nepal does not use the Gregorian calendar as its standard. Instead, Bikram Sambat is the country's official time system. The new year in Nepal also does not begin on January 1st, like it does in many parts of the world, but falls around mid-April, the time when spring arrives and a new farming season begins. This difference comes from the starting point of the two calendar systems. The Gregorian calendar counts years based on the traditional Christian date of the birth of Jesus Christ, while Nepal's calendar begins about 57 years earlier. According to legend, that starting point is tied to the victory of the ancient king Vikramaditya over his rivals. From that milestone on, the Bikram Sambat way of counting years has continued all the way to the present day. So, the fact that Nepal is living in a different year is not a time paradox, but simply a sign that this country has preserved its own system of measuring time, a part of its history, culture, and national identity that has existed for centuries. Strange beliefs in Nepal, where snakes are honored as gods. In Nepal, snakes are not seen only as dangerous creatures, but are also revered as manifestations of the Naga deities, spiritual beings associated with water, protection, and natural power in the Hindu and Buddhist beliefs of the Himalayan region. People often bring offerings, pray for safety, and ask for protection at sacred places connected to the snake gods. It is not just snakes. Many lakes, caves, mountain peaks, and boulders in Nepal are also tied to mysterious stories passed down through generations. Some places are believed to be where deities descend, while others are linked to legends of spirits, demons, or unseen forces hiding in nature. What is especially striking is that these beliefs have not been pushed into the past. They are still alive in the way people make offerings, in place names, in the stories they tell, and in the reverence they show toward nature. So, when traveling through Nepal, visitors are not just passing through towering mountains or still lakes. They are also stepping into a land where nature always walks hand in hand with mythology, where every landscape seems to carry a spirit and a story that has never truly come to an end. Number 10. Lumbini, where the Buddha was born and compassion began. In southern Nepal, in the peaceful Terai Plains, there is a place that millions of people around the world look to with deep reverence. That place is Lumbini, the land regarded as the birthplace of Siddhartha Gautama, the Buddha. According to Buddhist tradition, more than 2,600 years ago, Queen Mayadevi, on her way back to her maternal home, stopped in the garden of Lumbini. There, beneath a sala tree, she gave birth to Prince Siddhartha, who later gave up his royal life to become the Buddha. And in 249 BC, Ashoka, the famous Buddhist emperor, came here on pilgrimage and had a stone pillar erected with an inscription confirming that this was indeed the place where the Buddha was born. That very marker turned Lumbini into one of the most important holy sites in Buddhism. Today, Lumbini is a sacred complex that includes the Mayadevi Temple, a pond tied to the legend of Queen Mayadevi, the Ashoka Pillar, and many monasteries built by Buddhist nations. It does not have the overwhelming drama of high mountains or the noisy pace of a city, but Lumbini moves people with a very deep stillness. This is not only the place that marks the birth of the Buddha, but also the starting point of a path of thought that changed the world. The dances of Nepal, when the body becomes the language of faith. UNESCO has recognized dance forms and performing arts in Nepal as part of an intangible cultural heritage that is still being passed down from one generation to the next. One of the most outstanding dances is Lakke, the mask dance of the newer community, often seen during major festivals in Kathmandu, such as Indra Jatra. The dancers wear fierce masks and move with force and speed to the sound of drums, creating a feeling that is both vibrant and mysterious. Alongside it is Charya Nritya, an ancient dance of the Newar community tied to the Vajrayana Buddhist tradition and known for its highly symbolic and tightly structured movements. The Nepal Tourism Board also lists many other notable and fascinating dances that show just how culturally diverse this country is. So, when visitors watch a dance in Nepal, they are not just watching art. They are seeing an entire community retell its history, faith, and identity through the body itself, through music, and through rhythm. Pokhara, where the lake reflects an entire world of snow. Pokhara is one of the most beautiful cities in Nepal. Resting peacefully among majestic mountains, this place has a beauty that feels both real and dreamlike, like a rare, quiet pause in the natural world. At the heart of the city is the crystal-clear Phua Lake, its calm surface like a mirror, holding the reflection of clouds and sky. When dawn first arrives, the early sunlight brightens the lake, turning the small wooden boats drifting slowly across the water into gentle brushstrokes in a living painting. In the middle of the lake, Tal Barahi Temple rises on a small island, as if it has stepped out of legend, sacred and mysterious. But Pokhara is not only about romance and beauty. Hidden beneath the hills is Shamir, Bat Cave, where thick darkness wraps around limestone formations and thousands of bats cling to the cave ceiling like a living carpet. It is this striking contrast between a lake reflecting the open sky and the tiny villages tucked against the sides of towering mountains that creates Pokhara's most distinctive beauty, Nepal. A destination that is peaceful, mysterious, and impossible not to want to explore to the very end. Dal bhat, the simple meal that feeds an entire mountain nation. Dal bhat is Nepal's national dish. It is a traditional Nepali meal that local people prepare regularly, made up of white rice, lentil soup, and side dishes, such as vegetables, curry, pickles, or meat. Himalayan climbers are often served this dish by Sherpa guides and Tibetans. Not fancy, yet Dal bhat is the energy foundation of an entire mountain nation. In areas with harsh terrain, heavy labor, and cold weather, this meal helps people maintain their stamina day after day. Many Nepalis eat dal bhat 2 to 3 times a day, and for trekkers, it is also a dish that feels familiar on almost every route. More than just food, dal bhat is also a symbol of fullness, stability, family life, and hospitality. The Sherpa people, living legends on the roof of the world. When people talk about Everest, they usually think first of climbers from all over the world, people who spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to set foot on the roof of the world. But without the Sherpa people, that dream might remain only a dream. More than just guides, the Sherpa are the soul of Everest expeditions. They carry dozens of pounds of gear on their backs, sometimes up to 132 pounds, crossing steep snow-covered slopes, passing over deep glacier crevasses, and fixing ropes and ladders for every step of the climbing teams. While explorers struggle for every breath at deadly altitude, the Sherpa keep moving forward as if they are part of Everest itself. An Everest expedition can cost anywhere from $40,000 to $130,000 US, and each climber usually has a dedicated Sherpa team for support. But even though they are paid fairly well, the price the Sherpa must pay can be just as high. They work in brutal conditions, where a single slip can be their last step. Avalanches, lack of oxygen, dangerous routes. Everest shows mercy to no one, not even those who have spent their entire lives connected to it. Many Sherpa have lost their lives on the very route they helped others conquer. Everest is not a mountain that everyone can reach, but thanks to the Sherpa people, it has become a destination for the ambitious, a symbol of conquest, a dream for those who refuse to live with limits. They do not need the spotlight, because they themselves are the stars shining across the snowy sky of the Himalayas. Sunday is a workday, when the god Shani decides time. In Nepal, Saturday is the main day off, while Sunday is a regular workday. This difference comes from the influence of Hindu beliefs, where each day of the week is linked to a deity. Saturday belongs to Shani, the god associated with justice, karma, and trials. Because of that, many people see it as a day that is not suitable for starting important work. Meanwhile, Sunday is linked to the sun god and is often seen as a day with good energy for beginning a new week. This shows that in Nepal, even the way people organize time reflects the depth of tradition. For travelers, this is a very interesting experience because it makes everyday life feel more unusual and unique. RARA Lake, a silent treasure tucked away in the wild northwest. RARA is the largest freshwater lake in Nepal. Crossing majestic mountain ranges and deep, seemingly endless valleys, RARA Lake appears like a giant blue jewel in the middle of untouched nature, so peaceful that it feels as if you have stepped into another world. The vast lake surface glitters like a mirror, reflecting the crystal-clear sky. Slowly drifting clouds and dark green pine forests embracing the shoreline, creating a landscape that is both grand and mesmerizing. But what makes RARA different is not just its beauty. Local people call it the Lake of Ancient Spirits, a place where souls still carrying unfinished burdens come to reflect one last time on their truest selves. Alongside its enchanting legends, Rara Lake is also one of Nepal's most precious natural treasures, located within Rara National Park, home to many rare endemic species and an important stop for migratory birds. Most remarkable of all, the lake can continuously shift in color, from bright turquoise to deep blue, then to a mystical violet, depending on the season and the light. Its isolation, pristine character, and ever-changing beauty have made Rara Lake not only the most beautiful lake in Nepal, but also a real-life fairy tale land on Earth. Cows in Nepal. Sacred beings honored like the gentle mother of abundance. In Nepal, cows are the national animal, revered like divine beings, and seen as symbols of abundance, purity, and blessing. In the minds of the people, cows are linked to the goddess Lakshmi, the deity of wealth and prosperity, so slaughtering or eating beef is considered an absolute taboo. Milk and butter from cows not only nourish people, but are also used in sacred religious rituals. Even cow urine and dung are used to clean homes, purify living spaces, and drive away evil spirits during major festivals. Most especially, in Hindu folk belief in Nepal, a cow's tail is also believed to help the soul of the dead cross smoothly into the next world. During the TIHAR festival, cows are bathed, adorned with bright flower garlands, marked with tika on their foreheads, and offered the finest meals. Amid a festival atmosphere overflowing with color, incense, and prayers, cows appear as noble beings cherished, thanked, and worshipped by the whole nation of Nepal. Holi Festival. What makes an entire country throw colors at each other in wild madness? In just one day, Nepal turns into a giant storm of color, where even strangers can burst into laughter and throw colored powder right into each other's faces as if they have known one another for years. This is Holi, the festival that makes the whole country seem to go crazy with joy, where every barrier of age, status, or background suddenly disappears beneath clouds of red, yellow, blue, and purple filling the sky. From early morning, squares, old alleyways in Kathmandu, and crowded neighborhoods come alive with music, cheers, and faces covered in color. No one keeps their usual serious expression anymore. People chase one another, splash water at each other, smear color on hair, cheeks, and clothes, and laugh like children. The atmosphere is chaotic, but it is a beautiful kind of chaos, where joy is allowed to burst out without needing any reason. Behind all that excitement lies a deep and ancient cultural meaning. Holi is tied to the victory of good over evil, of light over darkness, and it is also a welcome to spring after the cold days. Because of that, each handful of colored powder thrown into the air is not just play, but also feels like a ritual to wash away bad luck, resentment, and the old burdens of the previous year. What makes Holi in Nepal special is not only the colors, but the feeling of an entire nation opening up all its emotions at once. In that moment, Nepal becomes a blazing stage of freedom, laughter, and life. Chitwan National Park, South Asia's most famous wildlife sanctuary. On the southern edge of Nepal, Chitwan National Park appears like a wild jewel, a place that is not only beautiful, but also carries a rare sense of mystery and sacredness. Once the royal hunting grounds of Nepal's kings, today it is protected as a UNESCO World Heritage Site, becoming a vivid symbol of the raw beauty of South Asian nature. When dawn casts its first light over the emerald grasslands and the still river, the entire forest awakens with the primal sounds of life. Most remarkable is the rare one-horned rhinoceros, the majestic symbol of the Terai region, moving slowly yet firmly, as if carrying the marks of thousands of years of evolution. Hidden deeper in the jungle is the Bengal tiger, a symbol of strength, mystery, and sacredness. For local people, the tiger is not only the ruler of the forest, but also the embodiment of the goddess Durga, reminding humanity that in the vastness of nature, we are always small and must know reverence. Beyond that, every step here opens up a sense of awe, from the birds and ancient forest to the living legends woven into the natural world. This is not just a national park, but a gateway into a wild world that is pure, sacred, and deeply enchanting. Janakpur, a sacred city, hiding an immortal love story few people know. Janakpur is the only place in the world to witness a sacred love story between two deities that crossed time, religion, and borders to find each other. This is the homeland of Princess Sita in the Ramayana epic, the woman who represents purity, faithfulness, and inner strength. It was also on this land that the destined bond between Sita and Rama began when the divine bow was lifted, opening a love story that not only moved human hearts, but also became a sacred symbol for thousands of years. The heart of Janakpur is Janaki Mandir, a magnificent white temple palace built of marble, standing out with its graceful domes and a beauty shaped by the elegant blend of Mughal architecture and local Mithila tradition. The structure is not only dazzling like a dream carved in stone, but also the soul of the city, where faith and love exist together in a space that feels both solemn and enchanting. During the Viva Panchami festival season, Janakpur seems to awaken in light, music, and color. The whole city turns into a living stage, reenacting the sacred wedding of Rama and Sita, with radiant processions, ancient rituals, and a joyful spirit filling every street. At the same time, Janakpur also preserves its cultural beauty through Mithila painting, where mythology, daily life, and the spirit of the people are told through vivid colors. Janakpur is therefore not just a destination, but a place where people can truly feel that love, faith, and cultural memory can live on through time. LUKLA, the most dangerous airport in the world. Just one look at LUKLA's runway is enough to understand why it is known as the most dangerous airport in the world. With a short, steep strip of concrete, one end pressed against a sheer mountainside, and the other seeming to open almost straight into a deep abyss. There is no safe margin, no room for error, and no second chance. That very harshness makes every flight to LUKLA feel like stepping into a gamble against nature. Aircraft must weave through towering mountains, battle strong winds, dense fog, and weather that can change in an instant. Here, every flight is a display of skill, absolute precision, and extraordinary courage from the pilots. Every traveler must endure a heart-stopping moment. And yet, in that place that seems so frightening, thousands of people still come every year, because LUKLA is not just an airport, but the starting point of a dream greater than fear itself. The journey to reach the roof of the world and conquer legendary Mount Everest. JATRA Festival, Nepal's strangest and most captivating ghostly festival. Few places in the world turn the pain of loss into a festival that is as strange, lively, and haunting as JATRA in Nepal. JATRA has deep roots in honoring those who passed away during the year. Families who have lost a loved one join the procession, and in many places, children dress up, wear masks, put on unusual costumes, or lead cows through the streets. In Nepali tradition, the cow is seen as a sacred animal that can help guide the souls of the dead to the next world. That is why, beneath its somewhat ghostly appearance, JATRA is actually a ritual of deep comfort and healing. The most remarkable thing about this festival is the way Nepali people face loss. They do not just mourn, but also use laughter, satire, and theatrical performance to soften grief. In many places, comedy shows are held to mock the bad habits and flaws of society as a way of releasing collective emotion. It is this blend of funeral ritual, carnival, and playful satire that gives JATRA a unique appeal, unlike anywhere else. Because of that, JATRA is not just a strange festival, it is proof of a deeply Nepali philosophy that even in the face of death, people can still choose to move forward through remembrance, love, and even laughter. The only country in the world with a triangular flag. Among nearly 200 countries in the world, Nepal is the only one bold enough to let its flag break every familiar rule. Not rectangular, not square, but rising with two triangular peaks like the Himalayan mountains themselves, piercing the sky, creating a flag shape unlike any other on Earth. At the same time, it also symbolizes the two greatest spiritual traditions that have shaped Nepal's identity, Hinduism and Buddhism. Living side by side in the daily life, beliefs, and spirit of its people. The deep red of the flag recalls the rhododendron, Nepal's national flower, while also representing the courage, endurance, and powerful vitality of the nation. Surrounding it is a calm blue border, expressing harmony, peace, and prosperity. On that background, the moon at the top carries a gentle and serene presence, while the sun below shines brightly like a will that never fades. One side reflects peace, the other strength and resilience, blending together into a spiritual portrait that is uniquely Nepal. Officially adopted on December 16, 1962, that flag is not only a national symbol, but also a declaration that Nepal has always chosen to stand apart, stand proud, and stand tall like its own mountain peaks. A country home to more than 120 languages and hundreds of ethnic groups living side by side. Tucked between China and India, Nepal may cover only a little over 55,000 square miles, yet it is one of the most culturally and linguistically diverse countries in the world. According to Nepal's 2021 census, the country is home to 124 native languages and 142 ethnic groups, coexisting within a relatively small area. What makes Nepal special is not just the impressive numbers of languages and ethnic groups, but also a feeling that is hard to put into words. On that small stretch of land, every valley, every mountainside, and every region seems to open into a completely different world. Just by crossing a mountain pass, going over a ridge, or traveling through a few more villages, people can encounter an entirely new community with its own language, customs, clothing, festivals, and even a distinct spiritual life of its own. Nepali is the most widely spoken language, but alongside it are dozens of others, such as Maithili, Bhojpuri, Tharu, Tamang, Newar, Gurung, and Sherpa. And each language carries with it a treasury of memory, tradition, and long-standing cultural identity. What is truly astonishing is that this diversity does not pull Nepal apart. On the contrary, it gives the country a rare kind of appeal. Each ethnic group is a story, and each language is a doorway into another world. In daily life, one can hear the bells of Hindu temples ringing, see Buddhist prayer flags fluttering in the wind, and experience food shaped by Tibetan, Indian, and indigenous traditions woven together in harmony. That is why Nepal is not only remarkable for its towering mountains or deep spiritual life, but also because it is a place where differences do not stand against one another, but come together to form a shared national identity. Pashupatinath Temple, the earthly embodiment of Lord Shiva. There is a temple in Nepal where people do not come only to pray, but also to witness with their own eyes the fragile boundary between life, death, and liberation. That is Pashupatinath, a place regarded as the sacred earthly embodiment of Lord Shiva. Set along the holy Bagmati River, Pashupatinath Temple is not only one of the most important Hindu pilgrimage sites in South Asia, but also a place where people can most deeply feel the cycle of life and death in Eastern belief. From the very moment they arrive, visitors seem to step into a world that is at once solemn and mysterious, where incense smoke, temple bells, and the ancient river blend together to create a sacred atmosphere that is hard to put into words. The most remarkable thing about Pashupatinath is that it does not separate faith from the impermanence of human life. Along the stone ghats on the banks of the Bagmati River, final rites still take place as a natural part of Hindu spiritual life. For pilgrims, this is not only a moment of farewell, but also a ritual that helps the soul peacefully pass through the cycle of reincarnation and draw closer to liberation. At the center of the temple complex is its most sacred treasure, the Shiva Linga with 4 faces looking toward the 4 cardinal directions. That image makes the temple not only a place of worship, but also a living symbol of Shiva's all-encompassing power, the destroyer who makes rebirth possible, the god who guards the eternal order of the universe. What makes it even more extraordinary is that after the major earthquake in 2015, the main temple complex remained almost entirely intact, even though many surrounding structures were damaged. That has made Pashupatinath, in the eyes of many, not just a historic site, but a place protected by its own sacred power. Pashupatinath, therefore, is not just a temple, but a place where people come face to face with impermanence, faith, and eternity in a single breath. LANGTANG, the place guarding Shiva's sacred lake that can wash away the sins of a lifetime. LANGTANG is not only a land of high mountains, icy winds, and precarious pilgrimage trails, but also a place that hides one of the Himalayas' most sacred legends. At an elevation of more than 14,100 feet, among grey rock, white clouds, and mountain ridges sharp as blades, Gosaikunda Lake appears clear and still like a mirror of the sky. But beneath that calm surface lies an ancient story of sacrifice, salvation, and purification. According to Hindu legend, when the world was threatened by the cosmic poison produced from the great churning of the ocean, Lord Shiva drank that poison to save all living beings. To cool the fire burning inside his body, he struck the earth with his trident, and from that spot, Gosaikunda Lake was born. Because of that, this is not simply a lake high in the mountains, but a sacred mark of the divine, a vessel holding Shiva's purifying power. Each year, pilgrims still cross freezing winds and dangerous terrain to reach the lake. Some walk barefoot, some carry small containers to collect its water, and some quietly step into the icy water, believing that with just one touch, not only the dust of the present life, but even the piled-up sins of an entire lifetime can be washed away. Around the lake there are no grand temples, only stone, prayer flags, and a silence so dense it feels almost touchable. That is exactly what makes Langtang so special. It does not overwhelm people with luxury, but with a sense of primal sacredness. As if in the middle of that frozen landscape, a person suddenly stands very close to myth, to faith, and to the deepest part of oneself. Nagarkot, one of the most beautiful Himalayan sunrise viewpoints on Earth. There are moments so precious that just seeing them once is enough to make people willing to travel far, wake up very early, and stand still in the freezing cold to wait. Sunrise in Nagarkot is one of those moments. As a village set in the majestic Himalayas and ranked among the world's top places to watch both sunrise and sunset, this is an experience travelers should not miss when visiting Nepal. In the early morning, the sunrise scenery in Nagarkot is truly breathtaking. As the first light of day slowly appears between the snow-capped peaks, creating a natural picture so beautiful it feels almost unreal. And when evening falls, the brilliant sunset gradually spreads across the sky, covering the entire mountain landscape in dazzling shades of red and orange, creating a scene that feels both mysterious and poetic. These are two stunning, mesmerizing moments that travelers should not miss when visiting Nagarkot. In addition, Nagarkot also draws visitors with its spectacular natural beauty throughout the year. Here, travelers can immerse themselves in the grandeur of the mountains, along with terraced fields stretching out like a painted landscape. Nagarkot is often described as a paradise for nature lovers, with sweeping views of the majestic Himalayan ranges within Nepal. It is one of the most ideal destinations for travelers to admire the awe-inspiring beauty of the highest mountain range in the world. Surrounded by endless pine forests, deep valleys, and snow-covered hills, watching the Himalayas in Nagarkot is an unforgettable experience that no traveler should miss. Dashain, the festival where people smear cow dung on their bodies to receive blessings together. Dashain is the biggest and longest festival of the year for Hindus in Nepal, marking the great victory of the gods over evil spirits and symbolizing the triumph of good over evil. During this festival, Hindu devotees smear a layer of cow dung on their bodies and light oil lamps and candles to give thanks to the gods for answering their prayers. In some South Asian communities, cows are not only animals closely tied to agricultural life, but also symbols of prosperity, purity, and blessings. Because of that, materials associated with cows, including cow dung, in certain folk rituals are sometimes seen as having meanings of cleansing, protection, and good luck, rather than being viewed only through the lens of hygiene based on modern ideas. Throughout the Dashain festival, there is a wide range of lively and meaningful activities such as visiting temples, gathering with family, dancing, flying kites, setting up traditional swings, wearing new clothes, and exchanging gifts. Families prepare lavish feasts with many traditional dishes such as sel roti and goat curry. Older family members place tikka, a mixture of yogurt, rice, and red powder, on the foreheads of younger people, along with jamara, which is barley grass sprouts, as a symbol of protection and good fortune. In addition, to honor Goddess Durga, people also sacrifice animals such as goats, buffaloes, or chickens. The meat is then shared and enjoyed together during the feasts. What is especially remarkable is that Nepali people take this celebration very seriously, so shops and restaurants close for more than 10 days so everyone can fully devote their time to family, faith, and the festival. In particular, they do not drink beer or alcohol. Because of that, Dashain is not just a holiday, but the most sacred time of the year, when the entire country seems to slow down together, to turn toward faith, roots, and the deepest values of togetherness. The country with no Independence Day because it was never colonized. There is one country in the world that does not need an Independence Day because throughout its long history, it has never truly lost its land to foreign rule. That country is Nepal, a small nation nestled beneath the mighty Himalayas, yet carrying within it the spirit of a people who have never surrendered. Set among snow-capped peaks that stay white all year long, Nepal is like a natural fortress shaped by cliffs, deep gorges, and the sky itself. Through the Thakuri and Licchavi periods, all the way to the Shah dynasty of King Prithvi Narayan Shah, the Nepali people always chose to hold their heads high against outside pressure. They faced influence from Tibet, went through major upheavals before the advance of the powerful Mongol Empire, and entered the fierce Anglo-Nepalese War. But in the end, the side forced to retreat was always the foreign power. Unlike many countries that celebrate the day they broke free from chains, Nepali people are proud that they never needed any liberation day at all. For them, freedom is not just a date on the calendar, but a current running through their entire history, a spirit present in every generation. From the blades of swords along the mountainsides to the simple rhythm of life in highland villages. It is the harsh natural environment that has forged in the people here their endurance, resilience, and independence. Nepal also has a very distinctive beauty, born from the harmony between Buddhism and Hinduism, between sacred ancient temples and quiet wooden villages half hidden in the clouds. When walking along winding stone paths and filling your lungs with the smell of cooking smoke mingled with the scent of wildflowers, you begin to understand why Nepal seems not to need an Independence Day, because every inch of its land, every beat of its life, for a very long time now, has always belonged to itself. Samjung, the Himalayan village forced to relocate because it no longer had water to survive. There is a village high in the Himalayas that was not wiped out by war or disease, but because the streams that once sustained it suddenly vanished as if they had never existed. Samjung sits at an elevation of more than 13,000 feet in Nepal's Upper Mustang region. Once a peaceful oasis amid a sea of cold, grey, rocky mountains, it was home to a small Buddhist community. Each morning, the sound of chanting echoed beside brown mud houses, while cooking smoke quietly drifted through the thin mist. The people lived self-sufficiently, growing barley on narrow terraced fields, raising livestock in a dry, cold climate with thin oxygen, and relying entirely on 3 crystal-clear streams flowing around the village, the only lifeline in this barren mountain land. Then, the climate changed. Snow and ice gradually thinned, and the streams dried up until only rocks and gravel remained. The rain was no longer gentle, at times surging into flash floods and landslides that destroyed irrigation channels and even swept away house foundations. At other times, it disappeared through long, dry seasons. No matter how hard they tried, the people of Samjung could not keep their village when the one thing that mattered most, water, had abandoned them. So one family after another, one person after another, quietly left, abandoning their homes, the worn steps marked by their ancestors' footsteps, and the memories of countless generations. They moved to New Samjung, about 9 miles away, near the Kali Gandaki River, close to the road, where there was a stable water source to begin again from scratch. That is why Samjung is not just an ancient village in the Himalayas, but also a heartbreaking symbol of climate change. The story of this place is a warning for all of us. According to researchers, 80% of the ice in the Himalayan region could disappear within this century if the world does not act in time. Samjung is one of the first villages to be affected, but it will not be the last. Patan, the 1,000-year-old heritage city, where every statue hides a secret. There are places people visit to admire the scenery, but in Patan, you step into a labyrinth of mythology and ancient stone, where each statue seems to hold a 1,000-year-old code inside it, waiting for someone perceptive enough to come and decode it. Patan is not simply an ancient city, but a living museum where history, faith, and art exist together in every red brick, every carved wooden window frame, and every temple spire rising beneath the deep blue sky of the Kathmandu Valley. The moment you arrive at Durbar Square, the heart of Patan, and once the center of power for the Malla kings, you feel as though you have just stepped through a door in time, wandering into a world where temple bells, the scent of incense, and streams of pilgrims blend together into a sacred melody found nowhere else. What makes Patan most remarkable is that it is not only a place to look at, but a place to explore. Every Hindu or Buddhist deity statue carries a face, a posture, a symbol filled with hidden meaning, as if quietly retelling the secrets of the past. The small relief carvings, tucked into wooden doors, the layered, multi-tiered pagoda roofs that seem to conceal time itself, the bronze, stone, and wooden statues in the Patan Museum, arranged with such care, all make the entire city feel more like a mysterious treasure house than an ordinary tourist destination. And it is most beautiful when sunset falls. The last sunlight washes the temples and towers in gold, while people's shadows stretch across the ancient brick ground, making Patan appear both solemn and mesmerizing. It is not just a destination, but a living secret. The longer you look, the more you want to hear it all, see it all, and the harder it becomes to look away. Pimbahal Lake, the lake that has imprisoned an evil demon for centuries and still haunts the people of Nepal. Right in the heart of Patan's old town, there is a body of water that looks ordinary at first glance, but the people of Nepal believe that if it ever runs dry, the demon imprisoned at the bottom of the lake will awaken. Pimbahal Lake is not a natural lake, nor was it created by ordinary human hands. Legend says that on a distant night, long ago, a tantric monk used magic to subdue the Laki, the evil demons in Nepalese belief, forcing them to dig the lake all night long, only stopping when the sun began to rise. From that moment on, the land that had once been filled with screams and fear suddenly fell silent, replaced by a mirror-like surface where people believed the demons had been locked beneath the deep green water. Today, if you stand on the moss-covered stone steps, you will see an entirely different world reflected in the lake, like the ancient Chandeswari temple roof, the red brick Nuar temples, and prayer flags fluttering in the breeze. The sound of temple bells, footsteps on brick pavement, and whispered prayers all seem to weave an invisible spell over the water, keeping that demon asleep forever. The people of Patan still fear one thing, that if the lake ever dries up one day, the curse will break and the demon will rise again. That is why Pimbahal is not just a lake, but a spiritual lock that has imprisoned the city's terror for centuries, a legend that is still alive, trembling beneath every ripple of water. Women can marry multiple husbands with just one wedding. A girl from the mountains of Nepal can become the shared wife of an entire group of blood brothers in one family. And from that moment on, the fields, the hearth, and the family line all revolve around her name. This custom may sound like something out of an old folk tale, but in reality, it reflects a very practical way of surviving under harsh living conditions. This form of polyandry, especially the practice of brothers sharing one wife, developed in mountainous regions where farmland is scarce, resources are limited, and dividing property across generations could weaken the entire family. When several brothers share one marriage, the land and property are not split up. The household labor force stays intact, and the family can survive more steadily in a difficult environment. In a polyandrous family, each husband takes on a different role. One goes up the mountain to tend livestock, one goes trading, one stays behind to farm, one looks after the children, while the wife becomes the center that keeps peace in the household, balances relationships, and maintains the family's order. Every evening, even the sleeping schedule is arranged by her own hand, so that no one feels neglected and no one feels overly favored. Inside the low wooden house, her voice may be soft, but it carries weight, and she can settle conflicts between brothers faster than any village elder. What is remarkable about these women is not simply that they have multiple husbands, but that they carry an entire web of complex relationships on their small shoulders. They are wives, sisters-in-law, younger sisters-in-law, and sometimes even the referee for male egos. They remember each man's habits, who is hot-tempered, who is quiet, who is easily hurt, so they can use the right words, a well-timed meal, or a gentle touch to keep a multi-husband family warm and whole. When you look into their eyes, you see not only endurance, but the strength to survive in the high mountains, where one woman can change the fate of an entire family line. Do you agree that polyandry should continue to exist? Leave a comment below and share your thoughts with us. Jutho, a strange dining ritual. In Nepal, that leaves many people stunned. In Nepal, just touching your lips to a shared cup of water can cause an entire portion of food to be seen as no longer pure. And from that seemingly small rule came one of the world's strangest dining rituals, known as Jutho. Jutho is not just an eating habit, but an entire world of subtle rules hidden behind every meal in Nepal, especially in Hindu families. If you ever have the chance to sit down at a traditional meal there, you will quickly notice an atmosphere very different from the loud, familiar warmth often seen in many other places. Every gesture is careful, every distance carries meaning, and each dish seems to be treated with a very special kind of respect. In this belief system, once food has touched the mouth, saliva, or used utensils, it becomes jutho, meaning food that has taken on an impure quality and is no longer appropriate to share with others. What makes jutho so distinctive is not simply its strictness, but the way it reflects a deeper cultural layer, a form of respect for the people at the table, for the community, and for the food itself. That is why taking food from your own half-eaten plate to give to someone else, using a spoon you have already tasted with to scoop back into a shared pot, or casually sharing food in a Western-style way can all be seen as rude. Each person has their own serving, and every action keeps a clear yet very delicate boundary. Even drinking water becomes an art. When sharing a bottle or a pitcher, Nepalis often lift it high so the water pours into the mouth without the lips touching the spout. It is only a small gesture, but it shows how deeply the awareness of cleanliness and respect for others is woven into daily life. Because of that, jutho is not just a rule at the table, but a vivid cultural tradition where courtesy is expressed through every sip of water, every bite of rice, and every very small yet meaningful distance. Majestic Everest, the roof of the world and stories paid for with human lives. If there is one place on Earth that feels both like paradise and like the final edge of life itself, it is Everest in Nepal, where every step toward the highest summit in the world may have to be paid for with a human life. Everest is not just a mountain. Everest is the ultimate symbol of grandeur, where the sky seems to sink lower, clouds drift beneath your feet, and human beings become so small they almost disappear into the endless white of snow and ice. At 29,031 feet high, this place is called the roof of the world, the closest point where human beings touch the sky, where the desire to conquer always burns hotter than the bitter cold. But that beauty has never been only about glory. Everest is famous not just for its height, but also for its extreme harshness. Winds howl as if tearing every sound apart. The air is so thin that every breath becomes a battle, and a single small mistake is enough to leave someone forever in the middle of the death zone. That is exactly why Everest holds some of the most beautiful stories of human willpower, but also some of the deepest tragedies born from the dream of reaching the top. There, some have stood on the summit of glory only to never return. Some journeys have been written with courage, sweat, tears, and even human lives. Everest is majestic because of its height, but what haunts the world is its cruel paradox. The closer people come to the highest point humanity can reach, the more clearly they face the fragile limits of themselves. And perhaps that is what makes Everest not just a mountain, but a living legend, both dazzling and chilling. Each place revealed a side of Nepal that is mysterious, vibrant, and breathtaking, leaving people in awe of the grandeur of its natural beauty and the depth of its faith and history. We hope the images and stories you have just seen not only helped you understand Nepal better, but also sparked in you the desire to one day set foot in this unique and captivating land yourself. If you found this journey interesting, please like the video and share in the comments which place in Nepal impressed you the most, or where you would want to explore first. And if you would like to continue joining us on journeys to discover magnificent, mysterious, and richly distinctive places around the world, do not forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you do not miss the next videos.